Have you ever felt something in your body that seemed small at first? Something so ordinary that you convinced yourself it was nothing to worry about? Maybe a little bloating, a shift in your digestion, or a new kind of tiredness that appeared out of nowhere. One of my patients once shared a similar experience, and her story stayed with me for years. She told me she kept brushing off her symptoms because they didn't feel serious. It was just a little change in her bathroom routine, a bit of discomfort after meals, and a fatigue she thought came from getting older. I want you to imagine this for a moment. You wake up one morning and something feels just slightly different. Not painful, not alarming, just noticeable. You think maybe it was something you ate, or perhaps a bad night of sleep. Days turn into weeks, and those tiny changes linger. They never shout, they only whisper. And because they whisper, many seniors ignore them. That is exactly how colon cancer begins for countless older adults in America. It does not start with sharp pain or dramatic symptoms. It tiptoes quietly into your daily life, disguising itself as normal aging. Bloating, constipation, subtle appetite shifts, thin stool, or unexplained tiredness often get dismissed as harmless. But after 60, the colon becomes more vulnerable, more sensitive, and every small signal deserves attention. I remember a patient in her early 70s who ignored mild bleeding and a change in stool shape for months. She thought it was hemorrhoids or something she ate. Only later did she learn these were early colon cancer signs that her body had been trying to communicate all along. Many seniors overlook these early symptoms because they normalize discomfort, feel embarrassed to talk about bowel changes, fear colonoscopies, or simply believe it's all just part of aging. But these early whispers are often the body's way of asking for help before things become serious. In this video, I will help you understand the early colon cancer signals seniors often miss, how these symptoms blend into everyday life, and the simple steps that can protect your long-term health. If this message is already bringing you clarity, please subscribe, like, and share Senior Health Daily. It encourages us to continue creating life-saving guidance for you. Why seniors overlook colon cancer signs. When I think about the early signs of colon cancer in older adults, I'm reminded of how quietly the body can shift without drawing much attention. After 60, so many changes unfold slowly that they blend effortlessly into daily life. Digestion becomes a little slower. Meals feel heavier. Constipation appears more often. Bloating seems like a natural part of getting older. And because these changes are so common, many seniors assume they're harmless, nothing more than a small inconvenience that comes with age. But the truth is this: the colon becomes far more sensitive in the later decades of life. The digestive system doesn't move as quickly as it once did, so food stays in the intestines longer, and that alone can mask early warning signs. At the same time, the immune system grows quieter. Its alarms don't ring as loudly as they did years ago. Because of this, early cancer cells can begin to grow without causing the sharp or dramatic pain most people expect. I've heard so many of my patients say, "Everyone my age has stomach problems. It's nothing." And every time, I feel a mix of concern and compassion, because I know how easy it is to brush aside small changes when life already feels full and familiar. Seniors grow used to fatigue. They grow used to appetite changes. They grow used to feeling a little off, assuming the body is simply getting older. Hormonal changes also play a major role. As hormones shift, everything from gut motility to inflammation levels changes with them. This can make a harmless symptom look exactly the same as a concerning one. And because the distinction feels blurred, seniors often minimize the discomfort, telling themselves it will go away. But colon cancer rarely announces itself boldly in the beginning. It starts slowly, quietly, almost respectfully, as if not wanting to disturb the rhythm of everyday life. That's why so many overlook the earliest whispers: a little more gas than usual, stomach pressure that feels mild, or appetite that's unpredictable from one week to the next. What I want every senior to know is this: your body is not trying to frighten you. It is speaking in small ways that deserve attention. You are not being dramatic by noticing changes, and you are not being a burden if you bring them up. After 60, small signals have big meaning. Now that you understand why these signs blend into aging, let's take a closer look at the subtle colon cancer signals seniors ignore every day, signals that could save a life if recognized early. The subtle colon cancer signs seniors ignore. When we talk about colon cancer, most people imagine dramatic symptoms or sharp pain that forces them to seek help. But in reality, colon cancer in seniors almost never begins that way. It begins with the kind of changes that are so small, so quiet, so ordinary, that they slip right into daily routines without raising any alarm. And that is why they are so dangerous. One of the earliest signs is fatigue that doesn't feel like typical tiredness. It's a heaviness that lingers in the muscles and the mind, a kind of exhaustion that doesn't match the day's activity. Many seniors tell themselves it's simply age catching up or a bad night's sleep. But often, this fatigue is tied to a slow loss of iron, a subtle form of anemia caused by tiny amounts of bleeding inside the colon. This bleeding is usually invisible, and because the pain is absent, no one thinks twice. Another sign is a gradual change in stool shape. When the colon narrows due to inflammation or early tumor growth, the stool may appear thinner, almost pencil-like. It's such a small detail that many barely notice it. They might laugh it off, blame it on something they ate, or assume it's just part of getting older. But the colon doesn't change shape without a reason. Persistent bloating is another quiet messenger, not the kind that comes after a big meal, but the kind that stays, almost like a gentle pressure under the ribs. It's easy to attribute it to indigestion or gas, yet bloating that repeats week after week deserves attention. Then there are abdominal cramps that feel mild, almost harmless. They may shift around the belly or come and go unpredictably. Seniors often think these cramps are diet-related or part of constipation, but the colon reacts when something interferes with its movement, and discomfort is one of its earliest warnings. Unexplained weight loss is another sign that slips under the radar. Many seniors actually feel pleased when they lose a few pounds without trying. But weight loss without reason is one of the clearest messages that the body's systems are under stress. Bleeding is often misunderstood. When seniors see blood in the stool, the most common reaction is to blame hemorrhoids. And while hemorrhoids are common, assuming they are always the cause can be dangerous. Sometimes the bleeding is dark rather than bright red, blending into the stool in ways that make it hard to see. Yet even a single episode of unexplained bleeding should never be ignored. Changes in bowel habits are another whisper of concern. Going more often, going less often, or feeling like you can't empty the bowels fully might seem like small inconveniences. But these patterns are early clues that the colon is struggling with inflammation or blockage. And finally, there is the uneasy feeling that something is off in the gut. Many seniors mention this vague discomfort, but they dismiss it because they can't describe it clearly. What I always tell my patients is this: you don't have to explain it perfectly. Your body is speaking, and that alone is enough reason to pay attention. Every one of these signs may seem tiny on its own, but together, they form a picture that the body hopes you will notice. The earlier you listen, the earlier you can act, and the greater the chance of catching colon cancer when it is most treatable. Why these quiet signals matter. More. After 60. As we move past the age of 60, the body shifts in ways most of us never fully recognize. These changes happen slowly, quietly, and gently. But when it comes to colon cancer, this quietness is exactly why early signs become even more important. One of the biggest changes is that the body's repair system begins to slow down. In our younger years, the colon constantly renews itself, repairing damaged cells and removing anything that looks abnormal. But after 60, this repair process takes longer. Cells don't heal as quickly. Small polyps, which are tiny growths, can form more easily and stay longer than they should. Over time, these polyps can become precancerous without causing a single moment of pain. Inflammation also becomes more common with age. Many seniors live with ongoing inflammation without realizing it. A little stomach irritation here, a little bloating there, a bit of gas after meals. All of it feels ordinary. But chronic inflammation weakens the colon's defenses and creates an environment where abnormal cells are more likely to grow. This inflammation may not hurt, but it matters deeply. Another factor is slower metabolism. As digestion slows down, food and waste spend more time in the colon. This means colon cells are exposed longer to toxins and irritants. When these cells stay exposed too long, the risk of damage increases, and with repeated damage comes a higher risk of cancerous changes. This is why symptoms like constipation or irregular bowel habits should never be brushed off as just getting older. The immune system also becomes less responsive. Earlier in life, the immune system acts quickly, removing damaged or abnormal cells before they have time to multiply. But after 60, the immune response becomes less sharp, less fast, and less aggressive. Early cancer cells can slip under the radar, growing quietly without triggering the usual alarms. Think of it this way. When you were younger, your body shouted when something was wrong. After 60, it whispers. Those whispers are still messages, but they require more attention, more awareness, and more respect. A tiny shift in appetite, a new sense of pressure in the stomach, or a change in the way your bowels move might seem small. But inside the colon, even small shifts can have big meanings. This is why ignoring subtle symptoms is so risky. Not because the symptoms themselves are dramatic, but because the body is less able to compensate for underlying changes. A soft warning today may become a louder problem months later. As a doctor, I've seen too many seniors blame their symptoms on aging, when in reality, their body was trying to protect them. The colon rarely screams for help. It taps gently, hoping you will listen before the message becomes urgent. How colon cancer starts silently. Colon cancer rarely begins with drama. It doesn't rush in with sharp pain or sudden illness. Instead, it unfolds slowly, quietly, almost politely, as if trying not to disturb the rest of your life. That's what makes it so dangerous in older adults. The silence gives it time to grow while you continue to think everything is fine. The story often begins with a small polyp. Polyps are tiny growths on the inner lining of the colon, and most of them start out harmless. Many people have them without knowing. In younger adults, the body often identifies and removes these abnormal cells before they become a problem. But after 60, as the repair system slows, polyps have more time to linger. A harmless little bump can quietly evolve into something far more serious over the course of years. The trouble is that polyps rarely cause pain. They don't send sharp warnings. They don't interrupt sleep. They don't make you clutch your stomach. Instead, they grow silently, changing shape and structure one tiny step at a time. By the time symptoms finally appear, the cancer may already be progressing. I remember a patient named Harold, a calm, thoughtful man in his 70s. He had always enjoyed strong digestion, so when he started experiencing mild cramps and occasional bloating, he blamed it on stress. He changed his meals, skipped certain foods, tried herbal teas. For months, nothing seemed alarming enough to see a doctor. When we finally did a screening, we found a polyp that had already begun transforming. The early signals were there, but they were so gentle he could barely recognize them. Another patient, Maria, told me she noticed her stool shape changing. It was thinner, sometimes softer, sometimes more difficult to pass. She assumed it was normal aging or a temporary diet shift. For nearly a year, she lived with tiny hints that her colon was struggling. When she finally came in, we found a precancerous growth that needed immediate removal. She was lucky. She listened just in time. These stories aren't told to create fear. They're shared to help you understand how quietly colon cancer begins. It doesn't act like an emergency. It behaves more like a slow, patient visitor, gently rearranging things in the background, waiting for someone to pay attention. This is why recognizing subtle changes matters so much. Colon cancer gives signs, but they're soft, understated, and easily mistaken for something else. Your body is not trying to confuse you, it's trying to protect you, but the signals can be faint. Listening early is the most powerful form of prevention you have. Symptoms seniors misinterpret as normal aging. One of the biggest challenges with colon cancer in older adults is how easily its early signals blend into the everyday rhythms of aging. The symptoms rarely feel dramatic. They don't stop people in their tracks. Instead, they slip quietly into daily life, disguised as common inconveniences that most seniors have learned to accept. Constipation is one of the most overlooked signs. Many seniors experience slower digestion as they age, so when bowel movements become irregular, they often shrug and think it's simply part of getting older. They add more fiber, drink a bit more water, or change their meals, hoping it will pass. But when constipation repeats, lingers, or gradually worsens, it may be the colon sending a deeper message. Gas and bloating tell a similar story. These symptoms can feel harmless, even predictable. Seniors might blame a heavy dinner, a new medication, or simply sensitive digestion. Yet when bloating returns day after day, or when gas feels different from what they've always known, it may indicate changes happening along the colon walls. Loss of appetite is another whispering sign that often goes unnoticed. Many adults over 60 expect their appetite to naturally decrease. But when meals suddenly feel unappealing or hunger fades for days at a time, it might not be aging at all. Sometimes the colon is struggling long before pain ever appears. Occasional nausea is also easy to dismiss. A few minutes of queasiness in the morning or after meals rarely feels serious, but repeated episodes, even mild ones, can signal early disruption in how the colon absorbs nutrients or processes waste. Iron deficiency fatigue is one of the most misunderstood signs. Seniors often assume their low energy comes from age, stress, a poor night's sleep, or simply doing too much. But colon cancer frequently leads to slow, unnoticed blood loss, which drains iron levels long before anyone realizes something is wrong. When fatigue persists, even with rest, it deserves attention. Even back discomfort can mislead people. Many older adults have lived with muscle aches or spinal changes for years, so when a new ache appears near the lower back or pelvis, it blends in with all the old ones. Yet some colon issues radiate backward, quietly competing for attention with past injuries or arthritis. Changes in stool color or shape are perhaps the most quietly dismissed of all. Stool that is darker, thinner, or unexpectedly inconsistent may reflect deeper changes in the colon. But because the symptoms seem small, many seniors tell themselves there's nothing to worry about. The truth is, aging and colon cancer can look very similar in the beginning. The difference lies in patterns. Aging symptoms are steady and predictable. Cancer symptoms are new, persistent, or gradually worsening. When something shifts, especially if it feels unfamiliar, you deserve to know why. Listening to these small changes isn't fear, it's wisdom. It's how you honor a body that has carried you through decades of life. Why doctors often miss your early colon cancer signs. One of the most surprising truths I've learned in my decades of caring for older adults is that even doctors can miss early colon cancer signals. Not because they don't care, and not because they aren't skilled, but because colon cancer in seniors often disguises itself beneath layers of ordinary symptoms that look like everyday aging. Most early signs are vague. A little constipation here, a bit of fatigue there, a few days of stomach pressure that come and go. When seniors describe these symptoms during an appointment, they often mention them casually or minimize how long they've been happening. It's common for someone to say, "It's probably nothing," or "I'm just getting older." When symptoms don't sound urgent, they don't create the alarm that leads to deeper testing. Another reason early colon cancer gets overlooked is that its symptoms overlap with conditions that many older adults already struggle with: arthritis, IBS, diverticulosis, hemorrhoids, diabetes, thyroid issues. These all share similar patterns of discomfort. So when a senior mentions bloating or fatigue, it's easy for a doctor to attribute those feelings to existing conditions rather than something more concerning. Time also plays a role. Most appointments for seniors are quick, and doctors have to address multiple issues in a short visit. When someone comes in with knee pain, high blood pressure, medication questions, and stomach discomfort, the stomach issue may not get the attention it deserves that day. Early cancer signs often require deeper conversation, and there simply isn't always enough time for that in a typical visit. Another challenge is that early-stage colon cancer doesn't always show up on basic tests or routine blood work. A senior might have normal labs, normal vitals, and no alarming symptoms, even while a small polyp is slowly developing. Without specific screenings or colonoscopies, early cancers can hide in silence. And then there's one more factor. Many seniors hesitate to discuss bowel changes in detail. It can feel embarrassing, uncomfortable, or simply too personal. So they might say, "My digestion feels off," instead of explaining what's really happening. Without clear information, it's harder for a doctor to see the full picture. But here's the most important part. None of this means early detection is out of reach. When seniors speak up, describe changes clearly, and trust that their concerns matter, everything shifts. Clear communication can turn a missed opportunity into a life-saving one. The body is always speaking. Doctors can hear it more clearly when seniors feel empowered to share their full story. Lifestyle patterns that hide colon cancer symptoms. One of the most overlooked reasons colon cancer slips past seniors is that everyday habits can blur or silence the early warning signs. These habits aren't mistakes. They're routines people fall into over years of living, years of adapting, and years of telling themselves, "I've been doing this forever, so it must be fine." But as the body ages, familiar patterns can hide the very signals that could save a life. Many seniors ignore bowel changes because they assume digestion simply slows with age. They notice they're going less often or straining a bit more, and they chalk it up to getting older instead of recognizing a shift in their body's natural rhythm. Constipation, pressure, or irregularity might seem like minor inconveniences, but they can also be early flags that something deeper is happening in the colon. Another subtle pattern is the tendency to rely on low-fiber, convenient foods. Seniors often choose what's quick and easy: white bread, packaged meals, soft snacks, especially when cooking feels tiring or appetite is low. These foods make the colon work harder and can hide the irritation or discomfort that a healthier gut would notice more sharply. Over time, the colon becomes less reactive, less expressive, and more vulnerable. Hydration is another quiet culprit. Many older adults simply don't drink enough water. They sip instead of drink. They forget. They avoid fluids to reduce nighttime bathroom trips. But when the colon is dehydrated, stool becomes harder, discomfort becomes more expected, and symptoms like bloating or pressure become easier to dismiss. Daily use of antacids or painkillers adds another layer of confusion. When someone takes heartburn medication every night or pops pain relievers for back stiffness, these drugs can mask the subtle signs of early colon cancer. Instead of feeling that gentle ache or noticing unusual bloating, the body gets muted, making it harder to identify when something has changed. Movement patterns matter too. A sedentary lifestyle slows digestion and weakens the signals the gut uses to communicate. When someone spends long hours sitting, their colon becomes sluggish. Symptoms blend into the background, making it even easier to say, "I guess this is just how it is now." And of course, one of the biggest patterns is avoiding screenings. Many seniors delay colonoscopies out of fear, discomfort, or simple reluctance. Without screening, early polyps remain hidden. Silent cancers stay silent. Small warning signs lose their context. But here is the empowering truth. None of these patterns are permanent. Awareness transforms everything. When a senior starts paying attention to daily habits, hydration, movement, food choices, medications, they begin to see their body's signals more clearly. What once looked like a harmless routine can become a moment of understanding, a chance to act early, a chance to protect their life. Real stories of seniors who caught colon cancer. Early stories have a way of touching the heart in places pure information never can. And over the years, I've met many seniors whose courage, awareness, and willingness to listen to their bodies changed the course of their lives. These stories are not meant to frighten you. They are here to inspire you, to remind you that early detection is often just one moment of paying attention, one brave decision, one gentle nudge from within. I think of Harold, a 72-year-old retired mechanic who always brushed off his symptoms. He thought a little bleeding was from an old hemorrhoid and assumed he was simply slowing down with age. One day, after noticing the bleeding twice within a week, he finally told his daughter. She insisted he get checked. That small moment of honesty saved his life. Doctors found an early-stage tumor that was removed completely. Without that conversation, the story could have been very different. But Harold is still here, gardening, laughing, and telling everyone he meets never to ignore what the body tries to say. Then there's Elaine, a 76-year-old grandmother who started feeling unusually tired. Not exhausted, not debilitated, just a subtle heaviness that made her think she needed more sleep. Her appetite changed slightly. She lost a few pounds. She blamed stress and aging. But her daughter noticed something in her eyes, a quiet dimming of energy. After gentle encouragement, Elaine went in for a check. Blood work showed anemia, and a colonoscopy later revealed a small tumor, caught early enough to be removed before it spread. She tells me often, if my daughter hadn't paid attention, I would have missed it. And I'll never forget Lawrence, 81 years old, who felt a growing sense of pressure in his lower abdomen. It wasn't painful, just different. He told himself it was gas. For weeks, he waited. One morning, he realized the feeling hadn't changed at all, and that consistency made him uneasy. He made an appointment. A scan revealed a precancerous polyp. A simple procedure removed it before it ever had the chance to turn dangerous. Lawrence still smiles when he says, "My body whispered, and this time I listened." These stories remind us that early detection is not luck. It is awareness. It is bravery. It is respect for the signals your body gives you. When seniors listen, truly listen, lives are extended, families are comforted, and hope grows stronger. Practical steps to detect colon cancer. Early after hearing these stories, I want you to carry one truth in your heart. Early detection is not complicated, and it is never out of reach. It doesn't require perfect health, expensive tools, or constant worry. It begins with awareness. It grows with consistency, and it becomes powerful the moment you decide your health is worth your attention. The first thing you can do is pay closer attention to your body's patterns. Notice when your bowel habits change in a way that feels new. Maybe you're going less often or more often. Maybe the shape, color, or texture of your stool looks different. These shifts may seem small, but they are often the colon's earliest messages. Write them down in a simple notebook or on your phone. Patterns matter more than isolated moments. Weight and appetite are also quiet storytellers. If you begin losing weight without trying, or if food just doesn't taste the same anymore, don't ignore it. Fatigue that lingers for weeks, not days, is another important sign. Many seniors brush these off, thinking they just need more sleep or a little rest. But your energy levels reflect what happens deep inside the body. Respect any change that repeats itself. Bleeding is never normal, even once. Whether it appears bright red or darker in your stool, do not assume it's only hemorrhoids. Let a doctor take a look. A single test can bring clarity and save years of life. If bloating or abdominal pressure becomes a regular part of your mornings or evenings, that is also worth discussing. Screenings are one of the strongest tools you have. A colonoscopy or stool-based test can catch polyps long before they become cancer. These tests are not about fear. They are about protection, about giving yourself the chance to stay strong for the people who love you. If you're over 60 and haven't been screened lately, consider this your gentle reminder. And remember, you never have to navigate this alone. Talk to your family. Ask your doctor direct questions. Trust your instincts. Your body speaks for a reason, and you deserve to feel safe, informed, and supported. As we come to the end of this conversation, I want you to take a deep breath and let a gentle truth settle into your heart. Your body is not failing you. It is communicating with you in the only language it knows. Every shift, every change, Every moment of discomfort is its way of guiding you, protecting you, and reminding you that your health still matters today just as much as it did decades ago. You deserve to feel empowered, not afraid. The smallest choices you make can shape the rest of your life. Listening closely to your body, speaking up when something feels different, getting screened even when it feels inconvenient. These simple acts hold tremendous power. They are not signs of weakness. They are signs of courage, wisdom, and self-respect. And through it all, I want you to feel gratitude for the body that has carried you this far. An aging body is not a burden. It is a record of every joy, every challenge, every step you have taken. It is strong. It is resilient. It is still fighting for you in ways you cannot see. Honoring its messages is one of the deepest forms of self-care. Most importantly, I want you to hold on to hope. It is never too late to act, never too late to ask questions, never too late to protect yourself. Whether you are 60, 75, or well into your 90s, early detection still saves lives. Awareness still makes a difference. You still have tremendous influence over your health. Thank you for spending this time with me and for trusting Senior Health Daily to walk beside you. If this message has helped you feel more informed, more confident, or more hopeful, please like, subscribe, and share this video so more seniors can stay safe and protected. You are never alone on this journey. I am here with you every step of the way.